and welcome back to the channel. Alright guys, today's the day. By popular demand, we are finally taking a look at this guitar. Yet another one out of my collection. And yeah, every time I play this thing, you guys ask me, hey, what is that guitar? It obviously looks a bit like a Nightswan. It's not a Nightswan. What this guitar actually is a Focus 6000. And I know what you're thinking, Focus 6000, aren't those like the budget Kramers that you can buy currently in the stores? And yes, they are, but this is definitely not one of those. What this is a Kramer Focus 6000 from the mid-80s. Let me explain. Oh, if you're new to the channel, please make sure you check out these timestamps down here to find whatever content is you're looking for. Tones will be more towards the back, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to do a whole lot on this guitar tone-wise, just because these are all aftermarket pickups. None of these are stock, so this thing definitely doesn't sound like you would find one of these if you do come across one in the wild, so keep that in mind. Anyway, I will do some playing at the back, though, if you're interested, so just follow the timestamps, get yourself to the content you want. Cool. Alright guys, so starting in 1983, Kramer released the Focus lineup of guitars. A bunch of different models in this range, and essentially this range was kind of to target a little bit of a more budget-friendly player. Of course, these are basically copies of American production guitars, but at a bit of a discount. Now, don't let that discount fool you. The Japanese-made Kramer guitars of this era, the Focus series, are spectacular. In fact, a good chunk of these were made in the ESP factory, so as you can imagine, the fit, finish, and quality on them is pretty exceptional. The only real weak point was more or less the electronics, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. Now, this guitar that I'm holding right here is a Kramer Focus 6000, and these weren't actually introduced until 1986. I've seen Reverb try to say they came out in 85. I've never seen one from 85, maybe they did. This one in particular, I'm pretty sure is an 86 or 87, and the reason I know that is because of these toggle switches here. You don't find toggle switches like this on any of the models that came out in 88 or after. By that point, what you're seeing is a more regular 5-way blade switch, like the kind you'd find in just about any other Super Strat from this era. Now, the other really awesome thing about this Focus 6000 is you might have noticed it has a reverse headstock. This is part of the reason why people seem to think that this is a Nightswan a lot of time. I mean, that and the polka dots, but we'll talk about that in a minute. These were only available as an option on the 6000 models, so it's kind of rare to find one with the reverse headstock. And notably, it does not say Kramer Focus anywhere on it, it just says Kramer. And you can see here on the headstock cover, it says 6000, so you know which model it is. After 88, you start seeing this kind of setup where it's just the Kramer logo and not saying Focus on it anywhere, and the truss rod cover. Again, 88 onward, that's when that starts to happen. But this is pretty cool because this is 86, 87, so this is the first one really like this. All right, another reason why I'm fairly confident this is probably an 86 more likely than an 87 is because the trem that came on the stock was a Floyd Rose non-fine tuner model. These are perfectly good trems, but they don't have fine tuners, so they're a bit of a pain to try and keep in tune. These were very common to find on the early model Focuses. So seeing as how this seems to be an early model Focus 6000 from probably 86, not a far stretch to see why that might have been on there. All right, so let's get this out of the way. Obviously, these did not come in a polka dot finish. Those of you that follow this channel know I've got a habit of putting polka dots on black guitars. I just think it looks cool and it's not particularly hard. These are just high quality vinyl stickers. You can buy these off eBay or wherever. And as far as putting them on and being time consuming, it's really not that bad. All you do is get some, 1-inch painter's tape, make a grid, put the dots in the middle, take the paint off, boom, there you go. And you get yourself a pretty pro looking stickered guitar. Again, looks kind of like a Nightswan, which was the point. When I did this, I didn't own a Nightswan, but I really wanted one. These days, I do have a Nightswan back there, as you can see, so I'm probably going to have to change these dots to something different. Maybe a different color, maybe a green or something. I'll post pictures of it when it happens. But anyway, yeah, looks kind of like a Nightswan. That was the point. But no, not a Nightswan. Now remember, I mentioned that the Focus series was based off of American model Kramers. This one was based off, the shape anyway, is based off the Kramer Pacer Custom from around this era. So really cool guitar. This is a very awesome alternative to that particular model. Anyway. Alright guys, let's talk about the specifications of this particular guitar. So first things first, it is quite obviously a Super Strat, in case you thought it was something else. The body itself is made of alder, and this is the same for all of the Focus 6000, so it's an alder body. Cutaways are basically your Super Strat kind of fare. You've got an arm cutaway here. In the back, you've got a belly cut right there, which is nice for accessibility. And of course, you've got nice horn cutouts here for good access to the higher frets. Model configuration on the 6000 was a slanted humbucker, 2 single coils. These would have been Kramer proprietary, whichever ones were in here. I've never played stock ones, but I've heard they sound god-awful. These are Seymour Duncans, all of them. I don't actually know what's in here. I think that's probably a JB. I bought this guitar preloaded like this, and honestly I like the sound of these, so I'm not going to change them. They sound fantastic. Again, with the earlier model Focuses, so we're talking 86, 87, 88 this changed, you get toggle switches, which just basically turn on or off any of these pickups in this configuration, which is kind of nice. You can turn all three on if you like and do some weird blending. Now, another thing about this one, I'm not sure if this is a feature from the factory or not, but this one is indeed split. So if you pull it out, you can split that humbucker down, you get a single coil sound. I know in 88, you definitely did get this as an option. Not entirely sure on this model range, but this one has that anyway, probably aftermarket. Actually, interestingly enough, when I did buy this, whoever I purchased it from wired in all the pickups backwards. So everything was working, just inverted. Anyway, sorted that out, plays beautifully now. Just one of those fun little quirky things you discover when you buy things in the wild. What else can I tell you about the body? Oh, I've got a detune on here, obviously you can see that. This is something I added, as well as this particular Floyd Rose that you see here. This is a Floyd Rose special. I should probably talk about this. These were a special run that Floyd did a few years ago. I think this one was 2019 or 2020 when they did this run, right before they did the retooling, and the quality really went down on these. If you're curious about what I'm talking about, I'll leave a card here, and you can go check out a video I did on Floyd Rose specials and just the differences in the new models versus these older versions. But yeah, this is something I added just because, of course, stock came with non-fine tuners, which was not really great. You have to tune everything a little bit flat, then when you lock down, it would kind of go sharp. Didn't much care for that, so we put this in, and you can just tune it normally, which is a lot better. Oh, another thing, also I put a big brass block on there. This is just a habit, something I like to do. It's a preference of mine, and obviously with the Floyd Rose, this is decked. So dive only. Van Halen style, right? That's all you need. All right, the neck. So let's talk about the neck. This obviously is a Fender style scale length, so we're looking at 25.5 inches in scale. We've got medium jumbo frets, which still have plenty of life left on them, which is fantastic. The radius is flat, but not too flat. That's 12 inches. And obviously you've got 22 frets, which is great. I don't know about you, I find it really strange when I play Fenders that stop at 21. I'm always looking for that extra fret. Yeah, anyway, the profile itself, this is actually one of my favorite Kramer profiles. This is called a thin U. I really like this profile. It's not thin like a Jackson or like a PV Tracer or something from this era. It's a bit thicker, but it's definitely quite flat feeling. Definitely feels like a U too. I don't really know how to substantiate this. There's not really any guitar that has a neck similar to this. I've got a Schecter, which is kind of similar, a modern Sun Valley Super Shredder. But haven't really played any other guitars with a neck that feels like this one. Anyway, this is one of my favorite profiles ever. Incredibly comfortable, shreddy but not so flat that you're gonna have, you know, hand cramps after playing a whole show with this. Fantastic neck. So the headstock, yeah, this is interesting because this is the somewhat rare model of Focus 6000 with the reverse headstock. You don't see these very often, and the big telltale when you do see them is that they do not say Focus on them anywhere. They just have the model designation on the truss rod covered. Again, this becomes pretty normal on all of the Focuses, I think, after 88. But prior to that, this is kind of an unusual thing, and this is a bit of an unusual option to have anyway on a Focus 6000. But I really like the look of this. I mean, who doesn't like reverse headstocks? They look fantastic. The tuners on the back here are just some generic Kramer tuners. Kind of the cool thing about them, though, is you get up close here, I'll see if it'll show. You can see it says made in Japan. So these are just the stock tuners. They feel good. Don't know much about them. The ratios feel great. They feel good. Not that I use them really. Again, we've got a lock nut up here, which again, of course, is from that Floyd Rose special run from a few years back. And all of my tuning gets done down here with the fine tuners. So yeah, this is probably my favorite Kramer that I own. Don't really know how to substantiate this more. This guitar just for whatever reason has that magical mojo that some guitars you just pick up and you feel it instantly. This one obviously is beat to all hell and back. I mean, I've had this for years and years and years now, and you can see there's dents and scratches and all sorts of signs of honest wear and abuse all over this thing, even the back of the neck. I mean, it's pretty good, but there are some imperfections back here just from years and years of use. I've played this thing in tons of videos on this channel. Before that, this used to be one of my main gigging guitars when I was still active playing in a few bands. And honestly, it's been a workhorse for me. Absolutely love this guitar to death. Anyway, needless to say, guys, if you come across a Kramer Focus used and you're looking for something like this, I highly recommend giving one a try. These are fantastic. Prices on them are really starting to creep up, but that's not too surprising considering these are Japanese made by ESP in the 80s. And yeah, they're just fantastic. Fantastic neck, fantastic fit and finish and construction of the actual guitar itself. So yeah, just really, really great instruments if you get your hands on one. Anyway guys, hope you liked this quick review on my beloved Kramer Focus 6000. I hope you found this some way useful or informative. If you did, please consider hitting like and subscribe. And like I was saying before, I'm not going to do a ton on tones just because these are Seymour Duncans. They're obviously not stock. This sounds nothing like one of these would if you found one stock. But I did promise I'd play out, so let's do that. All right, take care.